Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. This episode, I'll be talking about how Lindsey Graham refuses to confirm Merrick Garland for Attorney General, blaming the Trump impeachment. Jumping over to the Hill, CNN Gupta is stunned. I mean, he is flabbergasted that Cuomo said he does not trust health experts. Who would have thought that the guy who doesn't care about all the deaths of senior citizens due to his unscientific edicts wouldn't trust scientists? Going over to the Internet Accountability Project, Facebook is now refusing to sell any advertising space for messages supporting the Recall Gavin Newsom project effort, abandoning any pretense of being a neutral private business player from the Hot Air blog. And breaking news from CNN, Russia's Sputnik V vaccine, criticized for its early rollout, is 91.6% effective against symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective against serious illness, according to an interim analysis. Let's jump on over to Newsweek. Senator Lindsey Graham has refused a call to quickly hold a confirmation hearing for Judge Merrick Garland, President Joe Biden's nominee for Attorney General, while blaming the Senate's impending second impeachment trial of former President Trump. Graham, who still chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee due to an organizing resolution not being finalized, denied a request from incoming committee chairman Senator Dick Durbin to hold a hearing for Garland on February 8th. The Republicans said that the Senate's plan to begin Trump's impeachment trial one day after the proposed date meant that there would not be enough time to hold Garland's hearing, while insisting that Trump's impeachment for allegedly inciting the January 6th riot amounted to a Democratic attempt to score political points. Your request is highly unusual, Graham wrote in a letter to Durbin on Monday. The Senate is about to conduct its first ever impeachment trial of a former president, and only its fourth trial of a president, incumbent or not. Under the procedure the Senate has adopted, Donald Trump's trial is set to start on February 9th, but you want us to rush through Judge Garland's hearing on February 8th. An impeachment is no small thing and requires the Senate's complete focus, added Graham. Democrats do not get to score political points in an unprecedented act of political theater on one hand, while also trying to claim the mantle of good government on the other. And I agree. Don't ram through a nomination just because you can ram through a nomination, right? If you're going to go through with this impeachment, then you need to focus on the impeachment. If the impeachment is just for theater, then you need to claim it as such and then drop it. You already have enough Republicans saying that they don't support it. When you have 45 Republicans saying they will vote no, and you need 67 votes to basically convict, then what's the point of having a trial? You already know your answer before it even begins. Stop wasting time. Allow the government to function the way it should be. Stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting people's money. You're only doing it for show at this point. You're doing it for brownie points from your constituency while further alienating and polarizing the political spectrum. Graham maintained that the confirmation hearing for Garland, who he called a sound choice for Attorney General only hours before the January 6th insurrection that resulted in Trump's second impeachment, should take place over the course of 2 days, noting that the last 5 attorneys general had 2-day confirmation hearings. Graham said that Garland could not be given 2 days because Democrats voted to proceed with the Trump impeachment while holding the hearing and trial simultaneously would give neither the attention required. And he brings up a good point. You can't walk and chew gum at the same time when you're having a presidential impeachment trial. You need to wholeheartedly focus on that. That's what we were told the last impeachment, that the Senate needs to drop everything that they're doing and focus on the impeachment. And when they didn't do that, I'm pretty sure that the Democrats were trying to hold them accountable for that, even though they didn't have the votes. So you can't have it both ways, friends. You need just one standard. The Republicans are saying, hey, A, why are we having this? B, you're wanting us to ram through somebody in a day when tradition says it should take 2. And 3, you have people, we already have enough no votes for this to be a moot point. You're only doing this for show. You're doing this for theater. This doesn't mean anything other than for your next campaign slogan. Let's go over to the Hill. Neurosurgeon and CNN medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta on Monday said that he was stunned by New York Governor Andrew Cuomo casting doubt on the input of experts amid the coronavirus pandemic. When I say experts in air quotes, it sounds like I don't really trust the experts, because I don't. Cuomo said in a press briefing on Friday. Gupta responded to those comments in an appearance on CNN's The Lead. I'm really quite stunned, that's what he said. Gupta told CNN's Jake Tapper, I'm curious to talk to him and understand and clarify that a bit. It is true that New York has had success in containing the pandemic, Gupta continued, but they had terrible numbers in the spring of last year, but were able to bring those numbers under control. A lot of that was because of the experts and because of carrying through on plans that sometimes are sort of hard to understand at the time, but with time actually make more and more sense. Gupta went on to agree with Tapper's assessment that the comments were irresponsible, particularly in light of the number of people out there who are already hesitant about expert advice during the pandemic. They don't believe in the virus. They don't believe in getting the vaccine. They don't understand the value of testing. If you start to take away some of the credence of those experts, I think it's really, really harmful. So why don't we impeach Governor Cuomo for inciting distrust in the healthcare system, for essentially killing thousands of New Yorkers, because eventually that's what it's going to lead to, right? If we're going to hold people to the standards of insurrection, actually saying that you can't trust your doctor who says you need to take this COVID vaccine, that you shouldn't trust the science about wearing a mask, that you shouldn't trust the whatever, don't trust the air quote scientists because that's their subject matter expert, right? The subject matter experts in science are typically the scientists, but you have some elected officials saying, oh, no, I don't trust the scientists. I trust what I say. What I say is truth. And the only reason why we're succeeding is because of what I said. No, you need to hold this guy accountable then. You need to hold him accountable for all the deaths in New York. You need to impeach him for insurrection of science, basically. He's pushing for people to distrust their doctors. He's already pushed for people to distrust the vaccine. He's pushed for people to fight back against conservatives. So what is it? What's the standard? I want one standard. That's all I want. I just want one standard from our politicians. Is that too much to ask? Be just a little bit consistent with your ideology. The New York Times reported Monday that 9 senior state health officials have left their positions, citing Cuomo's leadership, including his failure to follow the State Department of Health's vaccination plan, which predates the coronavirus pandemic. Cuomo's brother, Chris Cuomo, as is a primetime host for the network, The Hill reached out to Cuomo's office for comment. So they're probably going to be talking about huge Q-tips, which look awfully like butt plugs. Let's jump over to Hot Air. So this is a conservative outlet, but it's a pretty good article nonetheless. There's definitely going to be a slant to the reporting on this, so I thought I'd just put that out there to begin with. That way nobody gets upset about it. But it is what it is. And it's something that Facebook is doing, and it's kind of disgusting in my opinion. As you may have already heard, there's a recall effort going on in California right now, aiming to remove Governor Gavin Newsom from office. And here's a quote. Now, in a shocking, and by shocking, I mean completely predictable turn of events, Facebook, the Facebook ad Nazis have said to the movement to recall the incompetent one, Gavin Newsom, no ads for you. According to Carl DeMaio, the chairman for Reform California, a group currently circulating petitions to recall Newsom, Facebook notified them that they will no longer accept the placement of ads to recall Mr. French Laundry. Over the last couple of weeks, there has been a concerted effort from the violent and militant left to tie all conservative organizations to violence which struck the Capitol. To be clear, what happened at the Capitol was violent, unnecessary and completely out of line, and anyone who participated in that action should be charged and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And see, that's the difference, again, between the left and the right ideology. The left has condoned that sort of behavior for an entire year, and as soon as what looks like to be far-right extremists had done it, they go, well, they need to be put in jail, and all conservatives are bad, whereas conservatives go, well, last year was bad and the 6th was bad. It's all bad when riots occur. And they're still pegged the bad guys while being ideologically consistent. It doesn't make any sense. That being said, attempting to tie nonviolent people and movements to the actions of a few violent That being said, attempting to tie nonviolent people and movements to the actions of a violent few is equally deplorable. There's that word. I like that word. So there will be no advertising allowed in support of the recall movement but you can still purchase all the ads you can afford in support of the governor's reelection. Vague suggestions that Reform California, the group organizing the recall effort, is somehow associated with the January 6th Capitol Hill riot and endorsing violence carry no weight whatsoever. Nobody from the group has been identified as having been involved with that attack in any way. Scott writes that Facebook is free to do as they please as a private company in the linked article, but is that really true? I seem to recall being told anyone offering products or services to the general public couldn't refuse service based on a variety of qualifiers if the refusal was being done for discriminatory purposes. Can you discriminate against a person or organization based on their position in a public policy debate? He brings up a good point. I believe Steven Crowder is actually filing a lawsuit about the same thing, basically saying you claim that you are an equal platform, but you are not an equal platform, so we're suing for that. And the only relief we're seeking is actually just to stop it. Hey, stop being biased. Just allow us to post what we want to post. Why are you doing this? We are driving so much traffic to your stupid website, and you keep smacking us on the nose with the newspaper for no reason. If Reform California was running advertisements urging people to attack the governor or burn down Sacramento, you could definitely understand a decision by a company to refuse their advertisements. But Reform California obviously isn't doing that. They're urging people to sign petitions and vote. I have to wonder if Facebook would allow advertisements promoting the sale of Vicky Osterwald's book, In Defense of Looting. That's someone who is literally encouraging acts of criminality and violence. We might want to look through a list of Facebook's previous advertisers and see what turns up. I kind of agree and disagree. Policies change and whatnot, but definitely if they're saying that they're not going to be partisan, that they're going to allow equal access to the platform, while simultaneously blocking half of the country's access to the advertisement on that platform, they're definitely being biased and they should be held accountable, because you can't say, oh, I provide a service to everybody except for those people. That is being discriminatory, and you're no longer living up to what you're saying you're providing. So people do need to be held accountable for their actions here. What we're seeing here is yet another case where the big tech giants who now control the lion's share of speech on the internet have run wild and need to be brought under control somehow. What Facebook is doing is deplatforming Reform California by refusing to engage in a legitimate advertising business arrangement with them. And they're doing it because they don't like the message being expressed. Facebook cannot honestly make the claim that Reform California can simply take their business elsewhere. By growing to the size it has, Facebook has effectively established a monopoly in that brand of social media interaction. Under other circumstances, they would be at risk of violating antitrust laws. Sadly, according to the rules by which the game is currently played, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and Google are all allowed to deal from both the bottom and top of the deck. They can claim to not be responsible for the content of their sites, while regulating the speech of any of their users they deem to be insufficiently woke. But now Facebook is taking the game to a whole new level by denying paying customers the opportunity to advertise based on the discriminatory positions held by its owners. A way to stop this sort of activity needs to be found, but at the moment, I'm at a loss to suggest how that might happen. So basically what they're saying is, due to Section 213, I believe that's the number, is that they can claim to be a platform, and these otherwise objectionable speech, if it's insufficiently woke, they can remove it because it's objectable to some people, right? If it's not woke enough, it's going to offend the woke people. So, hey, we're going to pull it down because it's otherwise objectionable. So there's arguments to be made. Let's change that terminology, otherwise offensive, to just illegal as that last part, because anything can be considered offensive. Anything can be considered distasteful, right? But it needs to be considered illegal for that to, if you want to be considered a publisher, then be a publisher. If you want to be a platform, then it needs to be any illegal speech needs to be banned. And then you can have it based off the most strict state laws. So now if a state wants to pass a law of disallowing certain types of speech, and then that social media platform just basically bases it off of that state's laws, right? as long as writ large what you're saying is legal, because it's not illegal for me to say vote red or vote blue. It's not illegal for me to do that, but it might be objectionable for me to go into a Bernie Sanders forum and say vote Trump, and it would be objectionable for me to go into a Trump forum and say vote Biden, right? So that is objectionable, and they could pull my speech down for that. They can deplatform me because I'm being objectionable. I'm being a jerk. I'm being a troll, right? Being a troll is being objectionable. I'm not doing anything illegal, though. If they're a platform, they need to allow people to have their voice. So I think there needs to be a distinction made. If you want to be a publisher, then by all means, be a publisher. Take away anybody's voice that you want to take away from, but congratulations, you just established a monopoly on echo chambers. If you want a platform, then you need to just basically allow any legal speech and just leave it up to the states. If the states want to pass a law onto what's considered legal or illegal internet speech, of course, you'll have your appeals and you'll have your Supreme Court rulings and all of that regarding internet speech. Allow that to occur, but then to be a platform, just have it be, hey, we're going to base this off of what's considered legal. I thought Parler had a good way originally of their considered free speech, because they went from basically broadcasting standards. They disallowed cussing, nudity, pornography, stuff like that. But they said if it's allowed on TV or on radio, then it is allowed. Right. So that seemed to be a pretty good standard. I think they kind of strayed from that, but I think even that would still be considered a platform, because they really went by a set of legal rules. They went with a more strict set of legal rules, but they went with they were in the box of, this is what's legal. This is what is not legal for you to say. And if it is not legal for you to say this on TV or on radio or on open airwaves, then we're not going to allow it on our platform, because we don't have the capacity to moderate every little tiny thing. So in order to avoid that, we are going to hold ourselves to strict standards, and our otherwise objectionable are going to be anything not allowed outside of broadcasting. And that makes a lot of sense. And that is the otherwise illegal, right? I think that would be a clever approach for senators and the Congress to approach the reform of Section 230 or 230. I said 213 earlier. Section 230. I think that needs to be changed, and it definitely needs to be looked at. Let's jump over to CNN. After criticism last year for an early rollout, Russia's Sputnik V vaccine is 91.6% effective against symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective against severe and moderate disease, according to an interim analysis of the vaccine's phase 3 trials. I don't believe anything that's 100% effective. This is full of it. Sorry. Nothing is 100% effective. No cancer treatment is 100% effective. No Tylenol is 100% effective. Penicillin's not 100% effective. Nothing is 100% effective. This is full of crap. I am sorry, but this isn't legitimate. The red alert should be sounded whenever someone said 100%. Doesn't happen in the real world, friends. 100%, nothing ever happens in the real world. The preliminary findings were published in The Lancet on Tuesday and are based on data gathered from almost 20,000 participants, of which around 3/4 received 2 doses of the vaccine and 1/4 were given a placebo. 16 cases of symptomatic COVID-19 were confirmed in the vaccine group 21 days after participants received the first vaccine dose. 62 cases were found in the placebo group, equating to an efficacy of almost 92%. The trial included nearly 2,200 people over the age of 60, and a sub-analysis conducted on this group revealed the vaccine was well tolerated and had a similar efficacy of nearly 92%. The team also analyzed the efficacy of the vaccine against severe and moderate COVID-19 disease, and 21 days after the first dose, no severe or moderate cases were reported in the vaccinated group, while 20 were reported in the placebo group. Serious adverse events were also rare, and none was considered to be associated with vaccination. The majority of side effects were reported with mild or with mild, such as pain at the injection site, flu-like symptoms, and low energy levels, according to the study. The analysis includes only symptomatic cases of COVID-19. However, the authors note more research is needed to understand the vaccine's efficacy against asymptomatic COVID-19 transmission and how long protection may last. The majority of participants in the trial were also white, so further research is needed to confirm the results across other ethnic groups. The trial is also ongoing and is aiming to include a total of 40,000 participants. It's Russia. Of course, there's going to be a lot of white people because I have, when I was in the military and we would go on tour, and my friends, I've never been rackjacked so many times by friends who are darker than me than when we were going through the Eastern Bloc. I'm sorry. It was insane that, it, that, that my friends who were black, really dark Hispanic, they were basically almost, sought after by a lot of people in these communities because they have never seen or never really see a lot of individuals of darker skin, because there it's nothing but white people. It's crazy what goes on over there. So of course the you're going to have to do more research across varied ethnic groups because Russia is very like mono-ethnic. It's basically only white people in Russia. Of course, you're going to have some variety, but there's not a lot over there. But I will say a couple things. Like I said at the beginning of this segment, there's nothing in science that's 100%. That even the theory of gravity is not 100%. There's exceptions to that rule. There is no 100% certainty on anything, no 100% efficacy on anything in science. It's not possible. There's always exceptions to the rule. And for them to claim that there's a 100% efficacy, someone's lying. You need to find out what the lie is, but somebody is definitely lying. Someone's not telling the truth. And for CNN to even peddle this, it's ridiculous. They don't even bring up the fact how unbelievable it is for them to say, hey, this 100% thing, it shouldn't be believed. People need to be skeptical of these numbers because these numbers aren't believable. And it's not even just a fib. That's just an outright lie. Now, if they were to say, there was a 92% efficacy for against symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective, or not even 100%, but say 98% effective against severe and moderate disease, that would make sense. So basically go nearly everybody who has the vaccine doesn't really get that sick. But even then, you still run the risk of getting sick. 100% is just not seen in science. So I don't buy it. Nowhere in science has anything ever been 100%. There's always exceptions. Even if there's one case, it would not be 100%. It would be 99.9%. I would even buy that. If they were to say 99.8% effective against severe and moderate disease, I would believe that. But as soon as you say something's 100% certain, sorry, not in science. In science, nothing is ever 100%. That's why it's the theory of relativity, the theory of gravity, the theory of X, Y, or Z, because it is only a theory, because there's no way to actually prove it to be 100% certain. And it is just a theory until the next best thing comes along that can further basically nail down what actually is going on. So that's going to be it for now, friends. Why don't you go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to contribute to the show, please go to notcensoredyet.com/donate. You'll find links available where you could help us out. Every little bit helps as we're still growing and would like to remain independent from outside influence. I'll be dropping another episode here in a couple hours. Until then, see you later, friends. Bye.